You could ask any number of people why they love our mountains, and everyone might give you a different answer. But it's these set of values, whether it's wildlife habitat, mountain scenery, the clarity of Lake Tahoe, the stars in the night sky, the sense of community we have in these mountain towns.
The caliber of skiing and riding, when people choose to live their life in a mountain town and spend that much time skiing and riding, is just so much higher. And so you have high level athletes that you can surround yourself with and go out with at any time. And that is part of the draw of living here.
These mountains too, there's so much terrain to explore. It's not just one peak, one volcano, or it's just endless kind of terrain.
My name's Irie Jefferson, and I live in Tahoe, in Incline Village specifically. Kind of the whole reason I came out here is I wanted to take a risk and try to see if I could snowboard and just do that maybe a little bit more seriously than I had been. And it's great out here, and I'm blessed to be here.
Pressure's up. About pop.
You!
Yeah.
Scent. This is a chill spot, Just kick it. I'm a creature of comfort, man. I gotta have my spots, Our other homie, Tommy, he has switched it up between living underneath the stairs and just sleeping on the couch. Puts his air mattress under there, but yeah, it's kind of hard. Every single year that I've been here with my friends, we've done I'm not gonna say anything incriminating. We've had the amount of people that we should have had, and they're just 3 people in 3 bedrooms, and it has been essentially backbreaking. It's almost impossible to keep up with it financially at our age.
But being a destination for the sport since the mountain now known as Palisades held the Winter Olympics in 1960 comes with challenges. The dream of living around Tahoe and spending one's days out on the slopes, not to mention the hope of making a home or raising a family, and someday growing old here, has become increasingly difficult for many due to huge wealth inequality and the resulting housing shortage. While costs of living have increased around the country, desirable locations like resort towns have been especially hard hit. Over the last few years, the cost of rent has skyrocketed. Meanwhile, in the last dozen years, median income has only increased by roughly 50%.
I do work construction. I come from, my father built over 30 homes in Tahoe Donner through his career. He's a self-made general contractor. Obviously I love my dad. I'm so grateful for how hard he's worked. But at the same time, it's man, how many of those homes that he built were second homes for people in the Bay Area, or how many of those homes were actually bought by people trying to raise a family here and be full-time residents. And I don't know the answer to those questions, but I do know that towards the end of his career, he kept building bigger and bigger and bigger. And his last home he built in Tahoe Donner was on ski slope. He sold it to an Apple engineer. And every time I drive by that house up on ski slope, there's not a car in the driveway.
According to the most recent Town of Truckee census data, of the 15,600 housing units in town, only 12% are owner-occupied, and 9% are long-term rentals. The remaining 79% of homes are not permanent residences and are instead classified as second homes, which often include short-term rentals. The housing stock breakdown begs the question: what happens when locals fill only 20% of homes but are expected to service the entire community, including visitors? Long-term locals do more than fill service jobs. They create community and are advocates for the region that they love.
My name is Tom Moores. I'm executive director with Sierra Watch. Sierra Watch has been working for more than 20 years in the greater Tahoe region to work together to save great places and ensure smart planning for our mountains.
My name is Dave Wilderauer. I live in Tahoe City, but I have ski shops around the North Tahoe, Truckee area. And I'm from Michigan originally, came out to ski for a winter and stayed for the last 45.
But if the next generation of nonprofit organizers, ski clinic directors, and local business owners cannot afford to stay here, the region risks losing future leaders in the community.
A few years after I moved here, a good friend of mine who lives in Southern California had helped develop this small grassroots weekend park camp for women on the East Coast. It was going really well, and Oakley came on and said, "We'd love to do this nationally." And so Mary, who's the person who started that, called me and was like, "Hey, Oakley wants to take the camp national. I need another head coach." At the time, I'm a server. I have lots of flexibility, so we started being the head coaches for this camp for Oakley. Long story short, marketing initiatives changed with Oakley. We were crushed for about a week, and then we were like, you know what? Why don't we just do this ourselves? We can do it. We didn't want the camp and this amazing community that we had started to build to die. The goal of the camp is actually twofold. Obviously, number one is to increase confidence and help women to progress in the terrain park, but then also it's to connect women to other women so that they can grow their community and grow their network of fellow female riders, because it's just so much more fun and also easier to progress when you have a crew. Wow, I haven't been on this chair in a while. So pretty. This is why I live here. Psycho.
Resort locations are usually appealing to avid skiers and snowboarders, who comprise a large part of the seasonal workforce. However, ski resorts are now having trouble incentivizing workers to stay for the whole season. After the long hours spent working to make rent, these workers have little time left to pursue their passion for skiing or snowboarding.
I currently work as a ski and bike tech at Start House. I work as a scribe at the hospital in town. I run a mobile bike repair business on the side, and I also house sit.
It's so hard to find a place to live. You can definitely find a job. That's really easy. You can find 5 jobs.
A lot of the people that are in their 20s aren't here because of the fact, or I can only suspect that it's because of the price of housing, being that it is $1,000 to $1,200 a month, and also the local infrastructure and economy that supports people. Your average job is going to be 18 to 20 an hour, and then when you have $1,000 to pay for rent, it's pretty difficult to make that all work and want to have fun at the same time.
In an effort to help their employees secure housing, Vail Resorts, which owns and operates the Tahoe Mountain North Star, raised their wages so that employees make a minimum of $20 an hour in 2022. But a couple more dollars per hour, while nice, does little to improve quality of life.
It's a big problem for employers, obviously, who need people to show up at work. But I think it's also a real challenge to families and the experience they have growing up in this town. And that's one of the reasons why we need to do better.
Ski bums will come and go, but families need roots. And you need a Little League. You need a junior hockey association. You need kids.
If you were to look on Zillow or Redfin or any other real estate site, you would see a plethora of homes available for sale. However, further scrutiny reveals that most are multi-million-dollar properties. A household earning the median annual income of $60,000 a year can, by standard formulas, only afford a home for around $300,000. With interest rates on the rise, this max price that they can afford will continue to decrease.
I think COVID was a significant wave for us. A lot of our homeowners took the advantage of the housing costs going up and sold their homes, and oftentimes that included, displacing the long-term renters.
According to the Mountain Housing Council and Landing Locals, over 2,000 new residents came to this area during the pandemic. The cost of rent in Truckee climbed by 25 to 50% just in the first half of 2021.
The housing market was kind of going crazy, and we got an email saying we had 60 days notice to pack up and move out. And that was pretty terrifying at the time, being that it was near impossible to find a place to live. I had heard so many horror stories of friends and just peers of ours that had same situation. Their landlords were like, we're selling the house, you got 30 days, you got 60 days. Sorry. Not sorry.
The challenges of living up here is consistency, and you have to stick it through, or like you have to seriously try, like your housing can be compromised at any time for numbers of reasons.
So if you are having housing stability issues, it truly is hard to really get anything else done, keep a stable job, keep your mental health.
They knew that even though this house had holes in the siding and the roof was two colors and the driveway is cracked and completely fallen apart, that someone would come up and swoop this house up like that, cash over asking price, no problem, because it was happening all over the town.
As far as people having their houses sold while they were living in them, I can't even count on two hands the amount of people that I have seen that happen to in the last couple years.
So we really need to build more that's available for purchase. Very difficult to do because it requires a whole lot of money, and there's not a lot of legislation out there now that allows for what we're calling the missing middle, which is the people that make more than 25 bucks an hour, that are the nurses, the school teachers. Geez, the ski techs that work for me, they make $30 an hour, at least. And they can hardly afford rent, little as buy a place. Oh my gosh, that's almost impossible.
So the hospital already is understaffed, and without people like me filling those entry-level position jobs, it'll be continually understaffed and start building up to a larger problem in the future.
In the last decade, very few homes have been built. Between 2012 and 2022, the housing stock has only increased by 1%. The region frequently gets blanketed with half a dozen feet of snow at a time. During these storms, many highways and mountain passes will close, sometimes taking snowplow teams days to clear the roads. If workers priced out of Tahoe live further away in Reno or down towards Sacramento, Highway 80 closing during winter storms makes responding to emergencies and serving community needs in Tahoe even more difficult. Regional legislation and local environmental agencies greatly restrict subdividing existing lots. These policies preserve low density, however, they incentivize people to build bigger. Alterra Mountain Company, the firm that owns Palisades Tahoe and Alpine Meadows, met steep resistance from locals and Sierra Watch when they proposed a luxury development in Olympic Valley.
These reckless development proposals, like what Alterra proposes in Olympic Valley, are obviously bad news when it comes to affordable housing, but that's not all. One of the areas that people are particularly concerned about in Tahoe, and have been seemingly forever, is traffic. Proposals like Alterra's in Olympic Valley would add thousands of new daily car trips to our gridlocked roads. At its best, that's a pain, that's a nuisance. It means that we're stuck behind the wheel instead of out on the trails. But at its worst, it could be fatal. We've already learned the hard way in California that our wildfires can be inescapable. When wildfire breaks out, and it will here in Tahoe, we lack the infrastructure to get out. So in the case of Altera's project in Olympic Valley, their own research projected that it would take 10.5 hours to evacuate the valley. That means just getting out of Olympic Valley onto 89, which is usually gridlocked anyway. So that's not planning for a disaster, it is planning a disaster.
Fire insurance coverage for homes is either nearly impossible to get or very, very expensive. Communities with high fire risk want their firefighters to live within striking range in order to prevent an outbreak from spreading. Additionally, building housing and increasing the population poses substantial risk if infrastructure is not also adequately improved. One strategy to help local workforces has been to build designated affordable housing near highways and main thoroughfares.
If we are to explore or bring affordable housing here, it's based on subsidies that are set by the state and the federal governments, and those formulas are very strict on who's allowed to live there and how much they're allowed to make.
Part of the difficulty of fighting the housing crisis stems from the disjoint jurisdictions in the region. North Lake Tahoe is split between the states of California and Nevada and 3 counties: Placer, Nevada, and Washoe. In the case of Placer and Nevada counties, the county seats are more than an hour away from the basin, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, where the housing crisis is not nearly as dire.
In order for our businesses to compete and keep the workforce that they need to stay open, they have to be very competitive with their pay. And so a lot of times what happens is, the employees who would tend to be the lowest wage earners in the community are actually making more money than our state and our federal government allow for the housing developments that we build when we pursue those affordable housing units.
The other thing that's going on is the special districts have now formed another committee special district to house their employees, which is our police department, fire department, the hospital. So all these public nonprofit agencies, we cannot be having those people live out of the area, because if there's a disaster or Highway 80 closes and we can't get them here, who is going to be the one that's going to fix my broken leg? Who is going to be the one that helps with fire that happens? Those people have to live in town. We have to figure out a way.
Solving the housing crisis is twofold. On the short-term level, employees need beds to sleep in so that they can go to work. But long-term, if that worker decides to have a family, then bunkhouse-style employee housing or a bunch of one-bedroom apartments are not going to work, and that family will leave the area. Some local business owners like Dave have taken on finding housing for their employees, because otherwise they risk not having the appropriate staff for their businesses to operate.
This project that we're on now is an old rundown trailer park that we're reconverting into a mini home village, and it just so happens I'm able to house 20, 30 of my employees here relatively happily.
This housing shortage is decades in the making and will require multi-fold solutions at the local, county, and state levels. Low-density single-family zoning has ensured that the most economic decision for homeowners and developers has been to tear down modest homes to build luxurious ones, which continues to push out middle-income families. Local efforts are focused on using the existing housing stock more efficiently and incentivizing local ownership. We need long-term residents to have better access to these existing housing structures instead of reserving them as largely vacant second homes or ceaseless Airbnbs. The Lease to Locals program provides large cash incentives to convert properties to seasonal and long-term rentals. Placer County has also launched the Workforce Housing Preservation Program that will fund up to 16% or up to $150,000 of the sales price if the homeowner agrees to deed restrict their home, so that any future sale of the property will go to a local worker. There are also no impact fees to build an accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, that is less than 750 square feet. TOTs, or transient occupancy taxes, are taxes on all hotel stays and vacation rentals. Proceeds from TOTs and Tourism Business Improvement District fees often go towards improving local housing availability. Around North Lake Tahoe and Truckee, the rates vary between 10% and 13.25%. These fees are common around the country and are as high as 17% in Austin, Texas. So there is room for rates around Tahoe to increase further. North Lake Tahoe could look to the town of South Lake Tahoe, which does restrict short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods, while still allowing them to operate around the casinos. In an effort to combat their own housing crisis, in November of 2022, San Francisco passed a vacant homes tax, which will disincentivize leaving homes empty.
It can be people that come up in the summer and don't use their house in the winter. Maybe we can get them to rent it out for 6 months for some employees. And conversely, people that want to be here in the winter, rent it out in the summer for employees. You know, some people up here are living in vans, and it's actually a unique question because Telluride just came out with a new program that allows their summer campgrounds to be opened up for van life for people that live in vans, that work in town, are allowed to use their summer campgrounds.
Welcome to my home. Come on in here. We got a secondary bed that pulls out, or a bench that pulls out into another bed. We have my bed that's over here. And then in these cabinets, we got my good old 1-2 clothing cabinets. That goes all the way down here. I have a little pantry that's over there. And then I got all my bikes and fun stuff that lives underneath the van. And then, yeah, up top I have a deck up there and a rocket box full of all my skis and some solar panels, and that's how you make the world go round. It would be nice though to have more designated areas, maybe to have the ability to park a van somewhere.
So campgrounds are just what a wonderful idea. I had a meeting yesterday to try to get our Parks and Rec department on the lakeside to open up the campgrounds. And they didn't know if they could do it. And I go, well, let's find out. I would love to see legislation, if that's what the correct word is, for, Palisades and North Star, incentives for them to build employee housing. Because if all the North Star and Palisades and Sugar Bowl people have housing, that's going to open up more in town. That would help. And what's the incentives for them to do it?
Not that I want to put up gates around this place and not let anyone in, but prioritize the people who have made Tahoe run for the past however many years, you know?
Again, it's going to take the will of the people who make decisions to be able to pull that off.
My boyfriend Niall and I decided to reach out to our old landlord and see if we could possibly move back into the place we used to live. Shortly after the pandemic hit, and he was the best landlord you could have asked for during it, always checking in on us, being like, if you can't afford rent, don't worry, don't stress, I'm not gonna kick you out. We had a chat and we were like, should we hit him up and just, be proactive and try to kind of beat this to the punch and be like, if you are going to sell, would you first of all just give us as much notice as possible, but also maybe try to see if we could be the buyers. And I think both of us thought this is probably not likely, but what the hell, might as well. And so we sent him an email, and initially he was like, no, definitely not gonna sell, don't worry about it, you've got that place, I'm just gonna keep renting. And then a few months later, he reached out and said, he actually texted me. I'll never forget this text. And he was just like, are you still interested in buying the place? And I was like, wait, what? No, I thought this was not an option. And so we had a chat. My boyfriend and I were like, can we make this work? And we're like, let's try. So we tried and we were able to make it work. And here we are. We worked our butts off all summer and got a down payment. He gave us quite a bit of time, which was awesome. Now we get to stay here. Now we have a place and we're so stoked because we don't have to leave, but we also talk about, like, are we going to want to stay when there aren't those people that made the community what it was and made it like where we wanted to put our roots down.
Around Tahoe, there have been a few local success stories, including Christine's landlord working with her to purchase the condo. While these relationships highlight the strength of our community, they aren't enough. These opportunities need to be strengthened with local, county, and state policies and incentives.
So to get engaged in things like Truckey's general plan, or when Placer County's considering another high-end gated subdivision, those are ways in which we can get involved early and stop this disconnect at its source and ensure that we have a better blueprint for everything, not just for workforce housing, but to make sure we're not buried in traffic or that the wildfire danger is even worse. So there are a lot of reasons why we need to work together to plan better.
I don't know, advice? You almost like need to come out and live in your car for a while and meet some people, because it's so hard to find a place to live.
I was just like, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I know I can live in my car. Like,
people want to live here, and we need to invite the next generation of our workforce and our families into this community. And so it's really this delicate balance of how do you kind of emphasize the beauty of this place, share it with so many others who want to be here, tourists and newcomers, but also honor those who are here and have been here.